Yeah, it is a complete series.
Well, right now we're talking to a few different places, and we don't know exactly. We haven't determined completely, but we certainly will announce this on our website when that happens.
I can't imagine it getting this good though, in terms of Vermont, you know, and right downtown, and great people, and great space, and yes. Well, the question is, how did we get them to sing? They decided to sing by themselves. No, what happened was there's sound machines in there, and the sound is always going, but you can't hear it until you walk up to the painting. And we just toyed around with electronics for a year until we got the right gadget. And then they started singing. You're welcome.
I was just wondering where the inspiration for the artwork came from. Because I've seen other works on the website. I was just wondering where the inspiration came from.
The inspiration for the
Well,
I get my day today.
I have a question for your mom. So, did Mike ever show any signs like when he was a kid about just talking about Mike and figuring around
did he show any signs of?
being an artist or?
Well, I can't remember a time when he wasn't artistic. I would say almost from infancy or from about 18 months old. You know, his kindergarten teacher used to say they didn't have a lot of supplies in this particular school. She used to say with, you know, maybe a few crayons or a few sheets of paper, but when Mike came into the room, suddenly she had the richest, most well-supplied room, kindergarten room in this country. Because he's always very creative and with visual things, with building, with everything. In fact, it could have been a problem, you know. It never stopped. So.
And also, there's a lot of encouragement with every Hanukkah present being a new set of drawing implements, and and creative with a capital C was probably the biggest word in the home to evaluate human accomplishment, as opposed to athletic prowess.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why you refer to these as paintings rather than wall reliefs or sculptures?
Actually, I should ask Chris White, who's sort of an advisor, and I'll to speak about that for a minute. But just briefly, the question is why are they referred to as paintings rather than sculptures? And it's really the words are kind of arbitrary in a way, but speaking of what she's interested in creating them, that 4 days ago, we were talking on the phone, and I don't know how we got into the conversation about that purpley gray one, greenish gray one, and for the first time, maybe ever, I got maybe a 20-minute, 25-minute phone conversation explanation of how that one was made. They're all made differently, and it was astounding to hear about colors trapped within other colors being summoned out from behind by new colors and different processes for each layer. So it's a big mystery to me. Okay, so anyway, any more questions?
Marjorie, you said you listen to music a lot in the studio when you're making art. I'm wondering if this is the first time your art was actually inspired by the music?
Well, the question is this the first time that my art has been inspired by the music I'm listening to while I'm working? And I would say it's certainly the first time deliberately, consciously inspired by it when I'm painting, and I tend to work with gesture.
And also, ironically, my music has been inspired by her paintings over time, in that she's always talked about stretching limits in whatever limits you can find to stretch. And that's been inspiring to think about that in terms of music and sound. So it kind of goes both ways. And she also listens to a lot of really interesting, varying avant-garde music, world music, and so it makes sense that there's some interesting connections.
Creating physical pieces, sure I got the question. Is
Whether
it?
you listen to the sound for each piece when creating that one.
Yes, I did have the CD continually going when I was working on the piece. Before and during, for sure.
How did you avoid going crazy?
Who said I didn't?
Yeah. What's that?
You create your music, is there a lot of sex involved in that?
Sex. The question is whether there's a lot of sex involved in the music, because he's perceiving the sexuality of the pieces. Probably. I mean, how can you really erase that from the equation? You know, sex and art. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably some relationships going on between these that we don't know about the After Dark porn version of the show.
How long each loop is?
The question is how long each loop is. Jared would be able to answer that better too, because they vary, but they also vary within themselves. There might be a repeating sound that's 10 seconds, but then it might go for a few minutes and then have a, I don't know, how long is each loop? We'll get Jared up to answer that question.